I love talking with people who are living through things actually. That's how you find out what's going on. So I thank our reporters for going out there and talking with people in California who don't live where the governor lives. Jamie McBride, LAPD detective and director of the Los Angeles Police Protective League, is here. And Lisa Smittcamp, Fresno County District Attorney, is in focus too. Welcome, both of you, and thank you for this hour of your time. Lisa, I want to talk with you because you do a similar job. You do it quite differently. What does Gascn mean, the district attorney, when he says punishment-based approach doesn't work? What does he want to do to criminals? Does he just want to yell at them, maybe put them in timeout?
I think that George Gascn should not be referred to as a district attorney. I call him an imposter district attorney because the district attorney should be the chief law enforcement official in the county. And what George Gascn is a public defender in disguise. So he has never tried a case. He has never been in a courtroom. And what he's doing is pushing an agenda of the people who are funding his campaign. And he is destroying the beautiful county of Los Angeles. And he is actually a menace to public safety when he should be the person who is the strongest advocate for public safety. I don't understand his policies other than to say the people who are filling his coffers, have a completely different agenda than keeping the people of Los Angeles safe.
Real quickly, follow up, does he survive a second recall?
If the people in Los Angeles, quite honestly, don't wake up and engage, they will. The first recall, had some legs, but people need to get motivated. They need to sign those petitions and get him out of there because he is a danger. So I think they're more organized this time, and I'm very hopeful that he does get recalled because we need to send a message not only to George Gascn, but we need to send a message to George Soros and the people that are funding the progressive prosecutors throughout the nation, because it's not a coincidence that where you have imposter DAs, you have this insanity going on, this absolute chaos.
Yeah, you're talking about the money flow to those elected officials. All right, so Jamie, I want to get to this. The Daily Mail with this headline, and it speaks to what police officers are dealing with on the street. Brazen crime, open drug use, a spike in homelessness, and trashed streets is driving very tolerant San Francisco residents to say enough. Amid the crime spike, the city's very liberal Soros-backed district attorney will face a recall vote in June. And it's gotten so bad that San Francisco's liberal Democratic mayor had this to say yesterday. Let's watch together.
What I'm proposing today and what I will be proposing in the future will make a lot of people uncomfortable. And I don't care. We are past the point where what we see is even remotely acceptable. And it comes to an end when we take the steps to be more aggressive with law enforcement, more aggressive with the changes in our policies, and less tolerant of all the bull that has destroyed our city.
All right, Detective, first of all, I just want to get your response to that, and then I want to fill in the gaps of who she really is and what she really said and did. Go ahead.
Well, it's amazing what a year can do, right? I mean, just a year ago, you have San Francisco and Los Angeles and Oakland in California talk about defunding the police. We saw how that experiment went. We're down over 700 officers. I'm in San Francisco monthly, and I talk to my counterparts up there, and they're going through the same thing. Crime is crazy. Now they're scrambling. And the thing about politicians is they don't want to admit when their policies are failures, just like the mayors up there, the city council members, and also our George Gascn and the district attorney in San Francisco. They don't want to admit they failed. Their policies failed, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's roll back the Wayback Machine, and I like the way you said it. Boy, what a difference a year makes. This was July of 2020. Mayor London Breed, the same woman now who's cussing and carrying on because crime is so bad and she's got to fix it. She said that she was going to eliminate or reallocate $120 million in funding to be redirected from law enforcement agencies to instead be spent on addressing disparities in other communities. So now, a year later, we have this. We have the reality of what that looks like. And when you turn back time, what does that mean? Detective, we lost people that you can't necessarily replace from the ranks. They're not going to come back just because she decides to spend more money now.
No. In fact, we are seeing it's harder and harder to recruit people. I had a friend that had 23 years on. He's still 5 years away from collecting his pension, and he retired. He said, I'll wait 5 years to collect my pension. And that's what we're seeing. But when you have people like George Gascn and his policies, just last week at a press conference, he said the criminal justice system failed the suspect that killed Jacqueline Avant, meaning if that suspect would have had more programs available to him when he was arrested in his prior arrest, that this could have been avoided. That's delusional. And there's no type of programs that change evil people like the Richard Ramirezes, the Jeffrey Dahmeres. When people commit violent acts like that, they need to be incarcerated. And what we're seeing is a revolving door. It's like a merry-go-round here in Los Angeles and in San Francisco.
You bring up the Avant family, that music producer and musician that was just entered into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. His 81-year-old wife is the one you're talking about. That was such a brazen crime. And I ask you as a district attorney, Lisa, what does that say about our legal system that we let people in and out of it so easily? And that case we're all watching because everybody's caught on camera. It's not like you don't know who did what.
Quite honestly, Harris, sadly for that family and that beautiful lady, these are sadly the cases that end up making a difference, because when it happens to the average citizen, people don't hear about it. These types of crimes are happening all over the place in these progressive districts and counties where this is happening. And quite honestly, Gavin Newsom, Jerry Brown, our previous governor, and people like Chess and George Gascn, they've created this culture. They're letting prisoners out, very dangerous prisoners, after they pass Prop 57 here. And we have elder parole and youthful offender parole that Gavin Newsom takes advantage of over and over and over. So when you continue to release dangerous prisoners, you close prisons when your crime is out of control. And you also have an attorney general in Rob Bonta who vows that his #1 priority is prosecuting cops and not being the chief law enforcement official of the state of California. You create a culture where there is no accountability and no responsibility, and the criminals are running the state. And this is why we have the chaos that we do.
And they're never going to give that power grab up, the criminals.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, they get everything. And I wonder how much difference at all does it make? I mean, we have a vice president right now who came from that state, who was the top law enforcement officer in that state, right? And the White House seems to be tone deaf on this issue. And just a quick thought on that, and then I'll let you both go.
The White House has actually just appointed a progressive prosecutor to the federal bench. So, I mean, we keep putting public defenders into positions of authority in law enforcement, and it makes the system be unbalanced. So, yes, Kamala Harris is I say the worst criminal street gang in the state of California has been Kamala Harris, Jerry Brown, George Gascn, Rob Bonta, and Gavin Newsom, because they are all a group. They support each other, they endorse each other, and they are continuing and causing this chaos.
All right. Lisa Smittcamp, thank you very much. And Detective Jamie McBride, appreciate your perspective always, always. Great to have you both in focus. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.